But if you're coming across this and you've thought about starting something, this is your sign to start. If you've thought about your legacy and look through your own family tree and history, consider that we're in a time where anyone could pick up their phone, camera, whatever they want, and film themselves and leave behind a memory of who you were for anybody else to watch over and over again. So I recently got to thinking about how we're in an age where technology is so prevalent and accessible and easy that it really gives us all the opportunity to leave our own legacy through video format, through podcasts, through whatever we want to do, and actually leave behind who we are and what we think about, our views on things, and kind of our soul in a way. I got to this original thought back in 2019 when my grandparent passed away. It was my last grandparent, my grandpa, and he left behind some souvenir stuff and some memorabilia and all these things like a lot of family does when they pass on. And looking through that, I got into Ancestry, did like a family tree account, did the DNA thing, and I realized one common thing here was that all the things on there were things. So they were like photos, documents, records, all these things that basically showed me what they looked like, where they were, when they did the things, what they did, but it didn't really show me who that person was. It didn't show me what my grandparents or dad or anybody else in there thought about their life, what their dreams were, what their hobbies were, what they just enjoyed doing, what they thought about being a parent, what they thought about their siblings outside of being like my parent, my grandparent, my uncle, from the aspect I saw them as. And seeing old photos of my grandparents when they were parents and when they were young and starting out made me wonder what they struggled with, what emotions they had, if they had any mental health barriers, if they had friendships that fell apart, if they struggled to try to raise kids, if they struggled with trying to juggle childcare and their job and all these different things, what things they wanted to do but never took the courage to try or saw themselves doing and never pursued. And what was the highlight of their life if they had to look back on it. We were having a talk, and it made me think that instead of waiting for something to happen, it's better to just start. And that's a common phrase, but when it comes to filming video, if nothing else, it doesn't have to be a perfect cut, it doesn't have to be fully edited, it doesn't have to be the neatest thing, it just has to be recorded that you existed, and record my thoughts, so that if nothing else, my spouse, my kids, my grandkids, and so on can see this at some point and remember directly who I am from my own mouth and voice, and see what I was like, my mannerisms, my attitude, my personality, my outlook, advice, things I'd learned, lessons, storytelling, all the things that you miss most about people when they're gone. The concept of who they were, not what they left behind. I feel like I'm a continuous learner that likes to get into a lot of stuff and is always interested and curious about the world. So I'm going to use that lens that I live by to share thoughts on my life as I go. Edited or unedited, just depends on how they come out, as naturally as I want it to be, or depending on timing, just trying to get it out there if it's revolving around a certain event. And maybe on other things I'll put more thought into how I explain it, or deep diving to pull up different references along the way to make them more impactful, meaningful, or polished. But if you're coming across this and you've thought about starting something, this is your sign to start. If you've thought about your legacy and look through your own family tree and history, consider that we're in a time where anyone could pick up their phone, camera, whatever they want, and film themselves and leave behind a memory of who you were for anybody else to watch over and over again. And that should be enough of a reason to take a chance and overcome whatever's been holding you back, whether that's something in your life, yourself, not having time, not prioritizing time, thinking you're not going to have enough of camera, equipment, mic, whatever it is. it doesn't really matter. It's all things you can get later along the way, but if you don't start somewhere, you're going to keep looking back and saying, I wish I did that a year ago, I wish I did that a couple years ago, and time will just continue to go by without actually starting or documenting where you're at in the journey. And the more you do it, the more you'll be able to reflect on the growth, which is what I look forward to doing in this aspect here.